Hello, everyone, and welcome to the EFMD Global Fair powered by Hired. My name is Perrine, and I'm part of the school team here at Hired. We're so excited to have you with us today as part of this global event connecting you with international employers. For those who are new to us, Hired is a global career services hub and the official career platform of EFMD. We have a global network of business schools and universities worldwide, and we work directly with your career services and with employers in order to help you find meaningful opportunities worldwide. As part of this global event, we have several conferences going on, and I am honored to co host this particular session with Solvay today. I'm excited to introduce our guest speaker, Patricia Carvalho, Head of Data and Analytics at Solvay. Welcome, Patricia. Patricia is a recognized leader in digital transformation with a deep background in data science, AI, and analytics. At Solvay, Patricia is driving large-scale digital transformation by aligning technology, data, and business strategy, which makes her the perfect person to lead today's discussion on digital technology and key transformation programs. We'll try to answer to how to enable the business through digital tools and innovation, and also what does it really take to transform an organization from the inside out. But before we get started, just a quick reminder, as it is a digital format today, please feel free to drop your questions at any time in the chat throughout the session. And we'll do our best to answer all of them throughout the session or at the end as we see fit. So now, without further ado, please join me in welcoming Patricia Carvalho. Patricia, over to you.
Thank you so much, Perrine. Thank you. So welcome, everybody. I think Perrine did a brilliant introduction. I wanted to add that throughout my experience now with Solvay for nearly 3 years, all my life has been dealing with data one way or the other. It's actually quite interesting, and obviously I'll share with you a little bit what the different elements that Solvay has been and he's been implementing to secure a transformation at all levels. But it's also quite interesting to see how this area has been developing in the last 2 decades, which is how long I've been in the field. So a very exciting journey that we have ahead. Obviously, data and analytics is my area, is really close to my heart. But the reality is, at a corporate level, we'll see that data is everywhere, but that all the different capabilities that we need to enable a business are very well interlinked. So without further ado, I have a couple of slides to share with you. And I would really appreciate questions because I really love these sessions and I love to be involved on these different fairs and events. But because there's people listening and people wanting to know more, people wanting to engage. So please feel free to ask as many questions as you wish. So the 2 topics that I wanted to share with you today are exactly as Perrine mentioned. So I'll pass on to this particular slides. But first and foremost, I wanted to share with you a little video, if I may.
Hey, Patricia, it seems we have a little issue with the audio. We can't hear the video at the moment.
Oh, okay, that's fine. So I think we can proceed, and then this will be a video that is public, so I can always share with everyone. Apologies for that, but that's what happens when you are streaming live. But you can hear me well, right, Perrine?
Yes, absolutely.
Very good. Thank you so much. Okay, so then moving on, I wanted to give you a little bit of a background, a context in terms of Solvay. I know some of you have heard about Solvay. I'm sure others might have heard but not know a lot. And it would be important to position Solvay in terms of industry, in terms of even legacy in the industry. So quite a few elements here to share with you that I think could be relevant. We are a pioneering chemical company with legacy rooted on the groundbreaking soda ash process innovation from Ernesto Solvay, which was our founder. And we are essential chemistry. What does this mean? We're not commodity, we're not specialty, we are essentials. We have been making progress since 1863, and we're aiming to master the industrial processes to better manufacture technologies that are essential to multiple markets. Also, the products that we deal with are essential to people's daily lives. Hence the reason why we talk about being an essential chemistry company and essential for generations. I think that's a really critical statement that we do aim to achieve and make sure that we are recognized for. Purifying the air we breathe, conserving food resources, protecting health and well-being, making car tires more sustainable, enabling battery recycling, high performance semiconductor chip manufacturing. These are some of the products that we deal with. And obviously these are products or components for products that make everyone's daily life easier. We are a reference player to all markets, and we aim to make sure that we have a sustainable and excellence approach embedded in our operations, but also our values. We want to also make sure that we drive the transition towards a carbon neutral future by 2050. So there's big ambitions that Solvay has as a company. I wanted to also share a couple of numbers with you. It gives also a good sense in terms of the dimension of the company. We are at the moment around 9,000 employees across the globe. I'll share with you a little bit the presence across the different continents. We have 4.7 billion euros in net sales, 1.05 billion in EBITDA. We have 44 production sites and present in 41 countries. So to give you a dimension in terms of who we are, what we are aiming for, where we are present, and the dimension of Solvay. A little bit to the presence across the globe. We have, as I mentioned, a global reach. We have a very strong presence in Europe, around 19 production sites. 60% of our employees are based in Europe. But then we also have a very important presence in North America, Latin America, and Asia Pacific. So all in all, we are present everywhere, and we want to make sure that the values and what we believe and what we want to be recognized for is done across all of these different continents. How do we want to do this? Because we talk a lot about, and we were introducing at the beginning, you know, in terms of tools, in terms of technology, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of the entire setup of a company. But the reality is a company is made of people that follow a culture that is able to drive the organization forward. In this particular topic, I'm actually quite proud of working for Solvay. And the main reason why is not because we are actually present everywhere or that we are involved in very important daily life products, but it's because of the people that we work with and the people that work with us and how we actually follow the core beliefs that we want to make sure that are spread across everyone. And they actually inspire the behaviors that everyone in the company has, so we can all together achieve what we are aiming for. What are those core beliefs? There's three. The deliver excellence belief, where there's a big focus on setting high standards to enable the growth, the performance, and the creation of value. So we want to secure that when we are setting up capabilities, when we're setting up a business, that we have the focus on delivering excellence on everything we do. Achieve more together. This is all about collaboration. I know you've heard this word before, but the idea here is probably to take it to the next level. We want to embrace diversity as much as we possibly can, and we trust and support each other to better succeed collectively. So working as a team and working together to secure that we can achieve more together as well. Last but not least, create a sustainable impact, ownership. We challenge consistently the status quo of things, and we take accountability for what we do. We want to make sure that what we do as a company is something that we're proud of, and that we are fully accountable for how we want to be able to move forward in the future and in an alignment with the sustainability ambition that we have. So without even talking about technology, I'm telling you already what are the critical elements of a big transformation and a successful transformation on any organization, which is people, which is the culture that we are led by. So all in all, we are essential chemistry. We are essential to daily life. We're essential to today. We're essential to tomorrow. And I hope that with this brief introduction and with this brief couple of slides that I'm able to demystify a little bit some of the different elements that you might have on your head at the moment in terms of questions on what is Solvay all about and what we are here in the market for. Now, digging a little bit more in terms of the key topics of today's presentation. As I mentioned, and I think it's a title that I like to keep on most of my presentations, is that any transformation is done by people with the right culture and clear purpose. Without this, it doesn't matter how much you want to drive business and growth forward, it is not efficient, it will not succeed. In Solvay, we are focused on 4 key pillars to enable this transformation and to enable the success of it. The first one, we talk about setting up the foundations. What do we mean by this? Of course, in order to run a business, we need to make sure that we have clear technology infrastructure underneath. We want to make sure that we deploy the right platforms to enable the future. And it's not just, as I mentioned at the beginning, it's not just with the analytics and the artificial intelligence components, but we're talking also about infrastructure. We're talking about security and compliance. The second element on setting up foundations that is critical is to secure that we can take the most out of our key asset, which is data. A company's asset, one of the key assets, I talked about the first and foremost, which is people. The second one is the data that we have. So in order to secure that we are able to take the most out of that asset, we want to make sure that we scale a data management program and framework across Solvay Group, improving and making it as accurate as possible, the quality of our data and the governance of our data. This is the only way we can then do the rest. What do I mean by the rest? Simplification and efficiency. The next step is to streamline as much as we possibly can the core processes that we have. So obviously, as any organization, we have to work together. We have to make sure that we are efficient in the way that we work together, that we collaborate, as I mentioned before. And in order to do that, we need to have clear, streamlined processes with also a clear ownership end to end. So there's a big piece of work being done on securing that that's the case and everyone is clear what their ownership and mandate is across the different stages of the end-to-end process. The next stage is to empower people to become more efficient and delivering faster. We want to also make sure that when we are setting up the organization, that we empower each individual to make their own decisions and to make sure that they can move on to secure that they can also proceed, deliver to their stakeholders and be able to take the most out of that responsibility. The third one is very close to my heart, actually. All of them are, but enabling self-service for me is key, is critical. It's critical to deploy to the business the capability of them doing their own day-to-day business without depending on other teams to secure that. We are in Solvay deploying at the moment self-service with Power BI. We want to enable anyone in the business to be able to use this technology as well as data as a product, which means that self-service for us is not just deploying a Power BI license on people's hands, but it's also to secure that people have access to the data that is needed to provide those reports or to construct those reports, but also to have data to do just quick decisions on a day-to-day basis without even going to a Power BI infrastructure. So it's quite critical for us. Last but not least, again, also very much driven by the AI world. All of you over there, I'm sure will have somehow, somewhere touched upon a capability, a tool that has artificial intelligence capabilities. And the idea of Solvay is no different from any other company, which is to secure that we foster and drive innovation, obviously with a sensible approach to make sure that we don't make it a hype, but that we make it as useful to the business as we possibly can. So when we're deploying a particular capability, when we are looking at large language models, LLMs, as most people have heard out there, we are using it with the purpose of rolling out to the business and ensuring that capability is actually being productive in the ways deployed and used. Last but not least, as you will see in my slides, transversal to all of this, we have talent. So talent will be actually what is going to drive all of these different pillars. People. And for us, it's really important that people feel that we can foster the talent growth, that we enable them to have challenges and opportunities in their careers. We allow them to have an opinion, but an opinion that they can speak up and that we can debate and that we can take into consideration strongly. So they ensure that when they have an idea, when they have an input, when they have an opinion, that theirs is taken into consideration at a high level. We also want to make sure that we grow industry standard capabilities. And what do I mean by this? The world is in a hype in terms of technologies, in terms of tools, in terms of softwares. We want to secure that what we do is robust for the future. What capabilities we develop, obviously we also fostering developments, proofs of concept, but the idea is that we spend time investigating, exploring, but of course with a view to make sure that we can deploy as a standard capability that anyone in the business can and should take advantage from. Last but not least, it should go without saying, but I'll say it anyway, training and upskilling of people. There's loads of different opportunities out there at the moment, and people are really excited about those. So the idea of Solvay is to also secure that we have a company that is able to provide some of that to our talent. The key enablers for transformation, I put here the 4 key enablers that we want to believe that will actually drive us to focus on what the transformation needs. I'll start with the IT modernization. Of course, it's important that we have an investment in several different components of IT towards the business. And there are a few programs that we're focusing on at the moment. So the first one, which is quite a big one and quite an important one, is a single, simplified and modern ERP. ERP, for those that do not know, stands for Enterprise Resource Planning, and our main tool is SAP. So there's a big program at the moment to secure that we execute on that. We're also going through a big transformation with regards to our data platform and IT infrastructures. I'll show in a second what that means specifically. And we have fully digitized sites. We have fully digitized sites in supply chain. So this is the critical IT modernization programs that we are executing at the moment. The next one that I want to talk about is a service-orientated organization. Of course, that we want to modernize. We want to put out there what is relevant and efficient to people, but we also want to secure that we optimize the organization to better, to increase, to optimize also the business satisfaction. We want to make sure that we have not just a lean organization, but an organization that is cross-functional, business and facing teams, and have teams that are facing the business and charged to secure the demand across between business and between IT. So the idea is to have an organization that is clear on, again, going back to ownership of the end-to-end processes and empowering people to make decisions, but in a streamlined and cross-functional manner. We also have streamlined centers of expertise, which means that we'll have specific centers of expertise dedicated to the different areas of the business, providing all the IT standards across the group. And then, as I mentioned before, but just to conclude here, in terms of orientated services to organizations, simplify and standardize processes across the IT domains. So first, we organize and modernize the systems. Secondly, we also organize and optimize the way that we work together. The third element is about the rationalization of our service. We want to be excellent in what we do, don't forget, okay? So we want to make sure that we also optimize the applications that we work with, that we develop, the contracts and all the different elements with regards to all the IT services that we can provide to a business. So the idea is rationalize, but with the view not to make it just a shorter list, but to secure that we are only focused on developing what is important and relevant for the business. Last but not least, people and culture, investing in the right talents. So of course it is, as I mentioned, critical that our managers lead by example on our behaviors. So any manager in Solvay will have the responsibility of being a role model to the behaviors that I just mentioned and the values. The right person in the right job, which then means that it's not that we're going to be looking for new people for that particular job. We're looking at the talents that we have. We are upscaling people, and we also making sure that there is cross-functional mobility and talent attraction. What does this mean? People are curious about different areas. People have the capability of taking on new challenges. So one way of providing this to employees is to secure that there are opportunities for them to be moving assignments, moving responsibilities across functions. And then, of course, last but not least, I think everyone appreciates a clear and transparent career paths for all IT professionals. So these are the critical key enablers that we identified for a transformation to be successful. I hope you resonate with them, because for us it's quite critical that we do execute on all four equally good. As I promised, I wanted, there's loads of information here, of course, that there will be several other programs or initiatives, if you like, that we need to be able to run to make sure that the transformation is fully across the different functions and the different work streams. So several programs are being run at the moment across those different capabilities. And of course, it's important that when we do this in a organized and aligned manner, because it's quite important also that we work together to understand the interdependencies that we have with one another, but also that we support one another when there's any need to. On the infrastructure side, we at the moment running several programs. I'm putting here the key ones so you resonate with them if possible. There's a few others, but these are the critical ones. So on infrastructure, we have several different ones, including our tech stack implementation and the integration of all of those different components across the organization. We are reviewing all our tech stack, which is quite exciting in the IT world, because we have the opportunity to actually make sure that we look at every single capability we want to keep in Solvay, and then choose which would be the tech stack or all the technologies. Tech stack might be a very specific term that we use at Solvay, but all the technologies that we would be putting together to enable to enable that service to the organization. Then on the end user services, we have a few that, of course, aim to improve our IT services very end to end: modern device management, future of mobility and voice, modern printing, and modern collaboration. So these activities are to do with our offices, are to do with the way we can collaborate as teams and across the globe. As you saw, we are present all over the world, and we want to make sure that we can collaborate in the most efficient manner. We can call each other, we can have meetings, we can have all those different elements together, so we can seamlessly work together as well. On the info security and compliance work stream, we have the identity governance modernization, Entra ID Security Operations Center. Again, one thing that I wanted to be able to reinforce here, I know this is something that is quite embedded in everyone's minds at the moment, but the more we progress in technology and in the digital world, the more we need to be conscious that there's higher risks to our security and compliance. So obviously it is important that we keep progressing, but always with the view of making sure that what we do is secure, is compliant, to what's the norms and the laws that we have out there. For data analytics and AI, we have a few other programs, but I wanted to mention here some of the critical ones. We have the data management program. As I mentioned before, this has to do with the data governance piece, with the data asset, making sure that people have clear ownerships and clear views on how we govern our data on a daily basis, so we can then deploy it to the wider business with the reassurance that what we are looking for, the decisions that we are making, are based on one single source of truth, okay? And that everyone accessing those data points will have exactly the same numbers, will have exactly the same viewpoints. So this is all about data consistency, this is all about data quality, this is all about data governance. Another big program that we have, and I mentioned before, but just also included here, is our ERP transformation. We also reviewing and re-executing a new ERP system, which means that what we are looking for once again is to make sure that we enable the business, we enable the IT organization to have an ERP system that works well and is efficient, but also that is as simplified as possible, so we can truly focus on what we need to do with the data and all the different elements out of it. Last but not least, intelligent assets. We have our digital manufacturing. There's a big focus for Solvay on making sure that we digitize our sites, that we enable our sites out there to be able to work efficiently as well. So when we're talking about digitalization, we don't talk just about the corporate side of the company. We, of course, talking about critical areas of our business, which are the manufacturing sites.
Thank you so much, Patricia, for sharing those very concrete details. And we have a question from the audience, from Ivan, asking if you can share a success story or case study where the digital transformation led to a significant business value.
I can tell you one straight away. There's going to be a few, and I hope when we conclude the entire transformation, there'll be several others. One that we've just started to have some results is the data management program, for example. As you can imagine, trying to govern and trying to set up a framework in a very big organization, as I mentioned to you, to make sure that everyone follows one standard way of monitoring the data, evaluating any issues that we have with data, amending it, using a standard set of tools, using standard processes, has been quite a big journey for us. We're not at the end yet, but I can tell you that we now have the full sponsorship of all our executive board. People are actually helping developing and advocating these ways of working for either new people or people that assume new responsibilities. And I can tell you that we are now having nearly half of the data in terms of business terms already being dealt with and with the right governance and ownership. And we're talking about a program that has been effectively on the ground for 6 months.
Right. Thank you so much for sharing this. Very exciting.
I'll share one very quick one as well, which is the Power BI deployment. Power BI is not the tool that we've been using in Solvay. We had other visualization tools in the past. We had to introduce this new tool. Obviously, for some people, it will be easy because they had been exposed to it before. They know the tool, they know how to work with it. But the reality is you also had several people that have been used to other type of technology, right? For many, many years, developing their own dashboards on self-service or receiving dashboards from our Center of Excellence in a particular technology. Being able to deploy this particular capability had its ups and downs as any. At the moment, we actually having, we developed chatbots to be able to answer people quickly around the self-service on any questions they have of development. So say, for example, I need to add a new feature to my dashboard. How shall I do it? There's a chatbot that we have that people can easily go and able to answer the questions that they have ongoing. Of course, there'll be questions that chatbots can't answer yet, but obviously that's the reason why we have experts here. And you can see that there's a big excitement for people to move quickly to this one Power BI tool and leave the old ones behind. So we have been having a really good traction on some of these programs. Obviously, there's others that we're still in the middle of it, and that's the reason why maybe we don't have yet success stories on those. But we truly expect very positive. We'll have several at the end of the transformation.
Thank you so much for sharing this.
It's absolutely fine. So I have one more slide for you. And then obviously, just keep questions coming, because I think it's important to actually answer your questions rather than me talking only. Really appreciate it, Jan. So thank you very much for your question. The last one I wanted to talk about is about a specific program from the ones that I mentioned before, which is the data platform. Data platform is seen as a key enabler. I hope this is a no-brainer to all of you, that the role of a data platform is quite important in a business, and is important in a business not just to have an infrastructure where we can store data, where we can have all our data or the majority of our data being gathered, but how we will be then deploying that to the benefit of the business. As I mentioned to you, we're transforming the entire platform at the moment. So we're changing our cloud provider. Is as deep as that. So we, of course, need to make sure that the architecture of this is completely aligned with the group. So we want to make sure that when we bring components of our technology stack, that they are aligned and consistent with the strategy of the group. But the whole idea is to, of course, enable business to have the data available as and when they need, to make sure that we have an automated way of people requesting data without having to send an email, without having to speak to individuals, but to have an automated system of doing requests of data. And then that request of data going directly to the owners of the data. Yeah. So what do I mean by this? When we are providing access to data, we want to make sure that the owners of that particular data source know that that request has been done, and they will be the ones responsible for providing the access. This will secure what? Data privacy, as one example. You can imagine HR data being a data source where not everyone can have access to. But then it will also enable us to do in an automated manner, using one single tool, as I mentioned to you, to control our data, but also to control the integration that data will have with the data visualization piece, as well as data science piece, as well as generative AI piece, and so on. The other element that is important here is, of course, the storage of this data becoming one place, and one place where the single source of truth can actually be advocate. Whenever we need to transform this data and we want to provide certain KPIs to the organization, we know that those KPIs have been defined by the owners of those KPIs. If it's an HR KPI, that our CPO is the one that will ultimately validate that, and people that are looking at that KPI will see the same as anyone else. The same way if we're talking about an operations KPI, and so on and so forth. So this is quite important to an organization from all levels, and is not an IT component, it's actually a business component. It will also enable us to do all the different exciting things that people want to do when it comes to data. In terms of exploration, we want to be able to jump on a particular proof of concept as and when we feel the need to. And we want to make sure that we have data enough, or a good sample size enough, to make sure that the proofs of concept that we do are as robust and as significant as possible. So all in all, it's quite important that we make this a success. I took the data platform one as an example, but obviously all the other ones are equally important, because without infrastructure, we're not going to be able to have, landing zones as an example, to be able to set up the data tech stack together. The same way, if we don't have security to make sure that what we are setting up is done in a secure way, then obviously none of this will be successful. So that's when I talk about being able to work together and as in collaboration as we possibly can. So this is what I had to share with you today. Not sure if there's any other questions on the chat.
Thank you so much. It's very insightful and very inspiring. Thank you for sharing all this. Yes, we have a couple of questions in the chat, so we can go through some of them. So we have a question from Vishnu. Thank you so much for your question. Has there been a situation where AI insights improved efficiency and risk management? Have you experienced any situation like that?
There's a few, actually. Thank you so much for your question. There's a few, and I'm just trying to select one that can be quite easy to understand. In Solvay, we only recently executed on a strategy for generative AI. So I'm going to be talking specifically about generative AI now, if that's okay. We've only last year decided that we wanted to be able to deploy a particular productivity tool, which is Gemini, and also Copilot. So the business has at the moment both capabilities to explore and to use out of shelf. Okay, so some of you have used Gemini and Copilot before. Similar tools out there in open source, you have ChatGPT. The idea of deploying this was to exactly do that, to have people using these skills to make their lives easier. The use of note takers has been quite institutionalized in everyone's daily lives. Being able to summarize key documents so we can have a good summary and a brief summary on what are the different elements of those documents, that has also been quite heavily adopted by our R&I stream as an example, but several others. The other elements that we've been looking into have been to make sure that we deploy this in the right way, because obviously the risks are quite high in terms of even the machines not providing the right answers. Okay, there's a couple of others that we're exploring at the moment on a more ad hoc basis. So as an example, the development of CV screening. Any talent acquisition team will dream to have a way of becoming more efficient on looking with the right quality, with the right level to candidates, for example, for particular position. And in fact, that's one of the ones that we're evaluating at the moment, how we could potentially deploy it, which is, as I mentioned, the CV screening capability. In terms of risks, I think the other elements that I'm seeing, and I'll give you an example as well of something funny and something that is also quite an eye-opener for us to be fully aware of these capabilities out there. I'm actually an advocate of these capabilities, and I use it on a daily basis. One of the meetings that I was having with my team, I was telling them, listen, I'm going to be on holidays, for a certain period. Then I'm coming back and I'm going to be on holidays for the next whatever. So I was saying I'm going to go first week of June, and then I'm going to go the last week of August. And then when I received the meeting minutes, it was actually quite funny, because what the transcriptor said was that I was going to be on holidays from May until the end of August. So this is to say what? Is to say that you have a lot of different capabilities out there, even out of the shelf, like Gemini, like Copilot, like ChatGPT. But we also need to be very much conscious that there still have to be people, behind the scenes, being responsible for whatever the machines generate. Okay. We also testing a lot of different capabilities that, for example, Power BI has. So it's on the go at the moment.
Thank you so much. We have another question from the audience. Could you touch on how your organization prepare the workforce for digital transformation, and how do you manage the change fatigue at Solvay? Because you talked a lot about talent, helping talent development and growth. So if you could precise a little bit on that.
That's a very good question as well. So yes, definitely. There are some downsides to a transformation, for sure. People fatigue is one critical one, particularly if there has been other changes in the past, particularly for the people that has been with a company throughout all of those changes. A couple of ways that we have that help us deal with it is, first and foremost, we have a very strong team, cross-functional, that supports everyone. We have the team of talent acquisition with us today here, but we also have very strong and very collaborative teams on the HR side to support us. To support us on what? To support us on generating ideas and activities, to have people involved in. We're doing a lot of initiatives for quite a long time, with paddle, with carnival activities, with yoga in the office. We also had a couple of other situations where we had people providing input on what would be interesting for us to do. So we have several events and several extra activities to help us be together in an environment that is not just work related. Okay. The other element that I like to mention is the fact that people will be tired, but they will be tired if they do not know the purpose and the reason why we're transforming. They will be tired if we are not clear on why we're doing things and the rationale behind it. There are several different transformations and changes that are done because we want to make sure that individuals are in a better place, that individuals have a clear ownership and a clear way of driving their activities ongoing, that they also have good opportunities to also reconsider other opportunity, other changes in their career paths. So all of this is somewhat to be seen as an opportunity for them as well. There's also the need for us to be talking along the way and making people comfortable to speak up. Okay, that's the reason why I said speaking up is so important. Speaking up is not important just because you want to provide an idea and a brilliant idea about a specific topic, is because most of the times the speak up elements or behavior is more difficult when you are in situations where you're not feeling okay. So, of course, this is the reason why speaking up is well embedded in our core behaviors, and where managers also need to role model it. So those are some of the different elements that we've been trying to implement to make sure that at least we make things a little bit easier.
Thank you so much, Patricia, for sharing this. We are approaching the end of the session, unfortunately. If you have any remaining questions, please feel free to visit Solvay virtual booth. The whole team is behind the scene and ready to answer any question you may have. Thank you so much, Patricia, for such an inspiring session. I really liked how you highlighted, especially today, the importance of people to drive this digital transformation. And it's really exciting to see that an organization such as Solvay is really focused and cares about talent growth and talent development and upskilling. So it's been a pleasure having you with us. Thank you all. Thank you to everybody who joined this session. The Global Fair continues. Be sure to check out the others webinars, company booth, and opportunities posted on the event. And see you soon in one of the upcoming sessions. Thank you so much.